cutting discipline, as reliable measurements are essential for everyday life. Metrology is basically involved in everything and often hidden. At the same time, metrology is an absolute specialist and expert when it comes to accuracy and reliability. So in the next 45 minutes, we will learn about the proposed European partnership on metrology that aims at fostering research and supporting innovation, and discuss how metrology supports Europe's digital and green transitions. And to do so, we welcome 4 brilliant speakers on our panel. So that's Peter Troll. He is Director for Prosperity at DG Research and in charge of the acceleration of the industrial transformation. Peter is also a specialist for research and innovation topics and industrial and environmental policies. Jörn Stenger, he is the new chairperson of Euromed, the European Association of Metrology Institutes, and Jörn has a track record in fostering European metrology research. Also with us today is Rika Virkkunen. She is Professor of Practice, fostering the topic of industrial renewal at VTT, the Technical Research Center of Finland. And she's board member of EFRA, the European Factories of the Future Research Association. And last but not least, Emma Williams. She is chair of the European Metrology Network for Climate and Ocean Observation, which coordinates Europe's measurement institutes in their efforts in these important fields. Her personal research supports the European Space Agency by establishing robust calibration and interoperability for satellite sensors. I'm very happy to have you all with us today, and I'm really looking forward to hearing your views. And to kick off with no further delay, I would like to hand over to Peter Troll. Peter, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Anne, and I'm so happy and grateful to be here with you this morning. So let me try to take us to the near future. Let's imagine we are in 2030. And let's imagine that metrology, the science of measurement, has become like a common currency. It is like the European common currency, where we have one European metrology institute, a bit like the European Central Bank with the national central banks, so a European metrology institute with the national metrology institutes working together for top metrology in Europe and globally. Is this just a dream? Well, I don't think so, actually. It is possible. Let me first say why I think it's needed and then how we could possibly get there. So metrology is a key enabler. It is not as visible as other sciences, but it's a very strong scientific field, a very traditional field where Europe has been leading over the last decades and longer. So it's a strong science field where we need to keep our leading role in order to have good science and good results for society. But it's also very important for the single market and for trade, because without agreed measurements, there is no single market and no functioning trade. And it is a key driver for our twin transition to sustainability, the digital and green transition, our ambition under the Green Deal to become climate neutral and circular. Without metrology, it would not work. At the same time, it's a very dynamic field. We see that with all the new technologies, the demand and the need for new measurements, new metrology is increasing. And we can see that globally. The US is investing $160 million in quantum measurement metrology alone. China has made a fourfold increase in its investment in metrology capacities. So very dynamic field, which requires a strong European approach. So how could we possibly get there? We can build on a very strong basis. We have, under the previous framework programs, had very strong metrology partnerships. We will build on that basis. We have proposed a 300 million investment volume for the next partnership for Horizon Europe. And this is the largest base ever. We have the largest base with member states participating than ever before. So there is a strong commitment and understanding about the importance of this partnership and the success of our joint action previously. And there are a couple of new elements in our proposal, which I think are important to lead us to the next stage of European integration. These networks, clusters of excellence, a very good initiative, really very good initiative from Euromed, from the metrology institutes to pool resources and join up for impact. And we intend to have more discussion, structured discussion with users and the steering group we want to establish for this new partnership, to be sure that the science also caters immediately for the needs of the users and the markets. So this is a very strong power package we have proposed in close cooperation with the metrology communities at national level. And here I would like to thank Euromed, its presidents, for the excellent cooperation we had throughout the preparations for this proposal and now in the legislative discussion. So the ambition is high. The need, I think, is quite clear. But with these metrology networks, we can take this step to further European integration and make it. Metrology is a wonderful example of European success, because with this European cooperation, we are building a stronger science base, keeping leadership, strengthening the internal market, our global role as well, and therefore building a stronger Europe. And this makes me very proud of the proposal. You've seen that the ambition we have set together is quite high, and it's now for us to take the next steps to make this partnership, to start implementing it, and then take it through the next years to what could possibly be this vision of a European metrology institutes, supported, backed up, and strengthened by the national metrology institutes. Thanks a lot. That's briefly from my side in terms of introduction.
Thank you, Peter, for these encouraging words and also for this very inspiring outlook to the future. So maybe one question. So regulation and standards are very important also to build a strong Europe. So how do you envisage that DG Research will support the metrology partnership so that it itself can also support other parts in the European Commission with regulation and standardization topics?
Yeah, no, this is related to co-creation. It's not what we have proposed here is not a DG Research proposal alone. We have co-created the entire Horizon Europe program, but also this proposal with the other services in the Commission and outside stakeholders. And that makes sure that we are in tune with the needs of other policy areas in terms of regulation, backing up regulation, which we have done in the past with the partnerships and which we can increase even in the future due to the joint ownership of this partnership and the structured dialogues we have, input panels for identifying what is needed in existing or upcoming legislation, where a lot is currently going on in terms of Green Deal in particular and digital transition. So that is something which this partnership can deliver, and where we can make this link with the regulatory framework and the role of metrology there.
Thank you for the clarification here. Question to the other speakers. Do you have any questions for Peter? Just need to unmute.
Yeah, perhaps Peter, could you describe the next steps on our route to the partnership? What is the timeline? What is the expectation here?
Yeah. So we made this proposal last year. We have made very good progress in the Council. So this is a joint decision by the European Parliament and the Council of Ministers. So yesterday we had an agreement in the Council on what in the legislative process is called a common approach. So the member states have agreed on this partnership proposal generally without a full commitment. That goes in this next phase of the co-decision process, which is very good news because it shows the joint commitment to this partnership, and it shows the agreement from all countries on the level of ambition and the direction of travel. And the same has happened in the European Parliament, where Gracia Carvalho is the rapporteur and has made, in good debates with the Parliament, very good proposals how to further strengthen this proposal we tabled. And so we see in both institutions a very good debate, high awareness, high interest in this partnership and support. So on that basis, we hope that we can, under Slovenian presidency in autumn, before the end of this year, have this proposal adopted, which would be quite fast. So we tabled it in February this year. By the end of this year, before the end of this year, fully adopted, published in the official journal, ready to go. That would be our next steps. And based on what happened yesterday and the very good discussion and support in the Parliament, I'm quite confident that the trilogue will be smooth, will be intensive, but lead to a fast and good result.
Thank you. That's very good news, I think. So I'm afraid that although we could go on a little bit, we will be moving now to the next speaker, which is Jörn Stenger. So Jörn, over to you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Anne. In this session, we talk about the European Partnership on Metrology. So first, I would like to illustrate with a few words what metrology is, where the impact of metrology is, and then talk about this partnership approach, this partnership initiative, and explain and illustrate what the partnership program would make a difference. So first of all, like Anna and Peter have already mentioned, metrology is a science of measurement. It's about measurement capabilities at the frontiers of science and technology. Measurement is about linking measurements to the international system of units, which is called the SI under the Meter Convention. And this is done typically via national measurement standards that are held by national metrology institutes, and of course developed by national metrology institutes. And with this mechanism, measurements can be made where necessary, where wished can make comparable around the globe. They can make measurements reliable, trustworthy, or in a more general term, quality assured. And that is key in many areas, may it be in industry, may it be for societal needs. So typically customer stakeholders have measurement instruments and they get a calibration and a quality assessment in the metrology institutes as a service. They may need it for production control in their industrial production, or maybe part of a verification process in a regulated area. Actually, industrial stakeholders are typically the primary customers of services of metrology institutes in Europe. And serving industry is a primary task of metrology institutes, or of most metrology institutes. So by calibration, but also through development and research, metrology underpins innovation. Innovation needs measurement precision and accuracy. Globally, competitive development and production in high performance products in industry. Let's take the semiconductor industry, robotics industry, mechanical engineering. That is unthinkable without a metrology level forefront precision positioning and characterization techniques. And we will hear about that aspect of metrology just after me in the next contribution. Rika Virkunen will tell us more about factories of the future and where metrology makes a difference, where metrology has impact, and how metrology contributes here, such as by building calibration capabilities for advanced digital-only industrial sensors. Not only industry, but metrology also underpins societal needs and regulation. Let's take the Green Deal. Metrology solutions are needed almost everywhere. Maybe smart metering, decarbonization of energy supply, environmental monitoring, or climate and ocean observation. Metrology is really needed everywhere. Just as an example, an upcoming a challenge, how do you know that the imported hydrogen is green, is generated from green energy, or is it produced from dirty fossil materials? Metrology can provide the measurement techniques, the measurement capabilities to distinguish. Emma Williams is the chair of one of our European metrology networks, the one for climate and ocean observation. And after Rika, Emma will elaborate on that example more, on the impact metrology has for climate and ocean observation. There are many more examples actually where society industry relies on metrology, and sometimes, as Anna said, even without being aware of that. Metrology enables correct and trustworthy measurements. Everywhere the bills are issued up in measurements, such as at gas stations, utility metering or so, or where there are limits to protect people and environment, such as in radiation protection or environmental monitoring. One recent example from health area actually is traceability, quality assurance of COVID-19 test kits. How do you know how precise they are, how correct they are? Metrology helps to tell you that. And metrology underpins quality assurance of the system of testing laboratories. And I'd like to add another aspect beyond all these applications I have now talked about. Metrology is firmly embedded in the scientific research environments. Metrologists cooperate with academia in fundamental exploratory research and contribute here and absorb the excellence of that communities. So metrology institutes provide the capabilities as a central part of the national and European quality infrastructure. They develop and hold national primary measurement standards, all the needed measurement capabilities. Metrology institutes cooperate worldwide under the Meter Convention to maintain a globally harmonized system of measurement units and measurement capabilities. But now let me talk about the partnership itself. Euromed, EV, the Association of Metrology Institutes, is the implementation structure. We have more than 100 metrology institutions under Euromed from 38 European countries. It's the EU, but also a little bit beyond the EU. All the European countries are represented in Euromed. And we talk here about more than 5,000 metrologists working together under that umbrella. And Euromed is not only the umbrella for European metrology, but in its function under the meter convention, the metrology community is connected to the rest of the world. There is a very traditional way of cooperating actually under the meter convention. These connections exist since quite a long time. Meter convention was established in 1875, actually. The first metrology institutes came up more than 100 years ago. We benefit from the fact that implementation structure for the partnership is part of a larger, of a very stable organization with a strong international cooperation and recognition. And I can say that Euromed indeed plays a key role for the international harmonized measurement quality infrastructure. So what are the objectives of the partnership? The partnership will deliver measurement solution in priority areas where high quality, trustworthy measurements are needed. It will develop a sustainable coordinated measurement infrastructure. First, about measurement solutions, we will directly contribute to EU priorities, the Green Deal, develop measurement capabilities and a sound European quality infrastructure around hydrogen, green energy production, all the aspects which are formulated under the Green Deal. The digital transformation is also one of the big challenges. Determine accuracy, reliability of measurements if, for example, self-learning algorithms, AI, is introduced here. How you quality assess measurement results or statements if these new algorithms are included. Here, metrology needs to develop new concepts and new methods for responding to these needs of stakeholders. Metrology will contribute also to very recent challenges like quantum computing. One of the most promising platforms for quantum computing are ion traps, and they have been developed actually for the use of primary clocks. And here we have a cross-fertilization of technologies, which may be very powerful. Health, of course, personalized medicine is one example where specific measurement capabilities are required. Now, about the sustainable coordinated measurement infrastructure, Peter has already mentioned these metrology networks. These metrology networks are a key part of the partnership and for Euromed and the development in the coming years. They play a central role in achieving the objectives of the partnership. We have already established 9 networks so far: advanced manufacturing, energy gases, climate ocean observation, and others. And we, of course, envisage more to come to really cover the landscape of challenges, so to say, completely. The networks will cover strategic areas of importance for Europe. They will organize systematically the stakeholder interaction. They will play a key role in the cooperation with other European partnerships. May it be clean energy, green hydrogen, made in Europe, key digital technologies, etc. And the partnerships indeed are among our most important, strategic important partners. They will develop strategic research agendas, and etc. These developments need support through the partnership. And the partnership, of course, is key for the networks. We need this program for that. So as a conclusion, the partnership on metrology will contribute to areas of strategic priority where high quality, trustworthy measurements are needed. And we will achieve this through metrology solutions for specific requests and needs, and through the coordination of the European metrology infrastructure. The partnership is key for that. And as a final statement, I would also like to thank the Commission, Peter, his colleagues, for this extremely fruitful cooperation during the last month working towards the partnership. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jörn, for this very comprehensive overview on the achievements of metrology and where it can be found, and also on the future plans for Europe's measurement community. So yeah, I'm afraid we don't have time for a question session this time, but you mentioned the topic of advanced manufacturing, which is a perfect transition to our expert in this field, Riikka Virkkunen. Riikka, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. So thank you for the opportunity to join and enlighten the connection between manufacturing and metrology. So as Jan already explained, and I also learned that the industrial companies are the main customers for the metrology institutes. So that is the one sign how important measurements are for the industry. But maybe some words about the manufacturing first. So manufacturing is extremely important for Europe. So it employs about 30 million people, and there are about 2 million companies in manufacturing that have made the European Union world's biggest exporter of manufactured goods and global leader in the high quality products. But on the other hand, manufacturing sector is very wide, complex and dispersed community. And this really calls for a strategic orientation and pooling of resources from different initiatives and regions. And this is where EFRA, the European Factories of the Future Research Association, comes in, and also the manufacturing partnerships. So they offer a joint European approach to manufacturing innovation. So EFRA, as an association, is the private part of the partnership Made in Europe that was launched just yesterday, but also in the previous partnership Factories of the Future that was active in the Horizon 2020 and in the past framework program. So thus EFRA represents the manufacturing community, brings together the companies, the technology providers, as well as the manufacturing companies, OEMs, but also the research institutes in universities, national initiatives, sectoral associations and clusters to work together for manufacturing innovation. And in addition to bringing everybody partners together and arranging networking and matchmaking, EFRA also provides long-term visions and roadmaps to influence the policies and even the calls. One example to check is the EFRA portal on the EFRA sites, which showcases the excellent results that have been the results this far, but also it's a place for finding new partners. So thus EFRA is supporting the Commission and the Member States in the planning, but also in the successful execution of the partnership Made in Europe that was officially launched yesterday. Yesterday, the EFRA chairman, Joaquim Meneses, explained already that the Made in Europe partnerships has several goals to turn the European manufacturing companies to become more resilient, more digital and greener. Another major goal is for the partnership is to be competitive, so for the manufacturing industry to stay competitive. So there are many other countries and regions in the world that are investing in manufacturing innovation, to mention China and US, for example. So Europe needs to be investing also and to maintain the competitiveness in a global sense. In this Made in Europe partnership that starts now, there are some specific topics already identified. Of course, first of all, fighting the climate change by means of manufacturing. So striving for the minimal environmental impact of manufacturing activities, but also enabling the production of high quality, environmental friendly products. And also then moving towards more circular businesses in manufacturing. We also need to decrease the vulnerability of the European manufacturing industry and support resilience, which is apparently very important in these days. This sovereignty needs also sovereignty in manufacturing technologies, but also other technologies such as metrology and digital technologies. And finally, we need to support the transition towards smart, autonomous, effective manufacturing, which again needs metrology and digital technologies. this is also the way to keep and enhance the meaningful good jobs in the manufacturing industry. So all in all, the partnership is there to support the European industry to become more green, digital, competitive, and resilient. And this, of course, poses a lot of metrology needs. So to achieve all this, there's an increasing need for measurements and metrology due to the increased automation, the complexity in products and processes, and due to the transition towards environmental and green. So, for example, more automated manufacturing relies on reliable measurements and detection all along the production lines. So we need to have the situation awareness and ensure the uniform quality all the time. And also the advances in manufacturing technologies in themselves often go hand in hand with the advances in measuring. For example, introducing, for example, additive manufacturing that needs different kinds of metrology, different kind of measuring systems. For example, X-ray tomography needs to ensure the quality in the production and in the manufacturing step. So all in all, the advances in manufacturing systems and supply chains, they go hand in hand with advances in metrology. And to be competitive and green, we need a lot more measurements and trustworthy data. So I think manufacturing needs metrology. So thank you for the opportunity to come and join today and say these words about the manufacturing metrology needs.
Thank you, Rika. So these were very interesting insights in what is going on regarding the industrial renewal, and congratulations for the launch of the Made in Europe partnership. You mentioned there are certain challenges related to metrology in your field. So how do you envisage the collaboration with Euramet and Euramet's partnership on metrology?
Okay, so as Peter Drell already highlighted, there's a need for this structured discussions where the European metrology networks can play a big role. So we at EFRA, of course, are very much waiting for the newly established European Metrology Network for Advanced Manufacturing. And this would definitely be a place to have a structured discussion. And the EFRA and the community is keen on to contribute to the strategic research agendas that are being developed, are going to be developed in this network. And we foresee that we can together work on these requirements for the metrology in the manufacturing and in the product and component and materials issues. So this would be the first and very important concrete step to take.
Brilliant, thank you. I think we have like 1 minute left. So is one of the other speakers wants to ask a question to Rika? That's not the case. Maybe very quickly, Rika, what are, in your point of view, the most urgent measurement challenges that you think the European metrology community should be covering?
Okay, this is of course a tricky question because, as mentioned, manufacturing is quite dispersed area. So in particular points, you might have a very specific urgent needs. But I think the most challenging need is really in the circularity and sustainability, because when we are going to the circular manufacturing value chains, we need to have a lot of information from the value chains and from throughout the life cycle. And this, I mean, having the trustworthy data based on measurements from the design to the use phase and even recycling. So this is a big challenge that we should work on.
Thank you. Thank you for these insights. And I'm sure the colleagues from the Advanced Manufacturing Network are listening carefully. So you mentioned European metrology networks, and now it's time to come to another example of these networks. That's the network on climate and ocean observation, chaired by Emma Williams. And Emma will tell us now why metrology is important for climate and ocean observation. Emma, your turn.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the opportunity to speak at this event today. So the European Framework for Climate Action is an ambitious European law that is committing us to changes in greenhouse gases and changes in land use that that support us reaching net zero. And that's going to be achieved through innovation. And both Jörn and Rika have shown us how metrology is so important within innovation to ensure that we can meet that green agenda. But as chair of the European Metrology Network for Climate and Ocean Observation, I would also like to show you how metrology can be valuable for observations and the observations that underpin evidence-based policy. Evidence-based policy needs feedback loops. And at the moment, the feedback loop on the greenhouse gases and on land use, the sources and sinks of greenhouse gases come through inventories. And inventories are based on activity data and emissions factors. And these are based on theoretical understanding and some research activity, but they are they're very slow to change. What we actually need is a more immediate, direct measurements of both greenhouse gases as they are emitted, and also of land use changes and the growth, we hope, of forests and other carbon sinks. But there's also, and that will provide a direct feedback loop. It'll tell us how well we are applying and responding to the challenge that's been set for us. But in the longer term, we also need feedback loops to show how the Earth is responding to that. So on those emissions, we need to look at how the gases are mixing within the atmosphere, and then how the Earth is itself responding, so that we can check and get feedback on what really matters. Such feedback loops rely on observations, but they also rely on those observations being accurate, being robust, being reliable, having the necessary quality assurance. Europe has invested 7 billion euros in the Copernicus Environmental Monitoring Service, Europe's Eyes on Earth. And these Copernicus services are absolutely essential for our policy for this feedback loop, and also provide economic services to many sectors of the economy. Now, metrology institutes in Europe are supporting the observational networks that build into Copernicus and similar organizations. My own research group has got instruments in the deserts in Namibia, which we put out with the European Space Agency and CNES, the French Space Agency. We've got instruments in woods in England, up mountains in Tenerife and in Switzerland. We're collaborating with other people who have instruments in farmland in Germany, in lakes in Estonia, in forests in Finland, and off the coasts of France and Italy, as well as collaborating with people across the USA, China, and Australia who are running similar networks. And all of these instruments are monitoring how well the satellites compare to those ground observations. They're providing a quality assurance, a comparison between those satellite measurements and the ground. And they ensure that Europe's sensors, the Copernicus, the Sentinel satellites that are part of so critical of Copernicus, seamlessly combine with the sensors of NASA, the Chinese sensors, even commercial sensors, and also that they're stable and they have these long-term records. We're also working with the people who make use of those satellite data to get the information that society needs to understand what's happening to our environment. Other research groups that participate in the European Metrology Network are working on gas standards for in situ atmospheric concentration, ensuring that the measurements of greenhouse gases are linked to the SI, to the International System of Units, and therefore have this stable reference as a baseline. We have institutes who are looking at the acidification of the ocean. There are obviously, as the oceans absorb approximately half of our carbon dioxide, some of that is going into the growth of algae, some of that is going straight into the oceans and changing the pH of the oceans, which both shows us the climate change that is happening, but also directly affects marine life and the ecosystem. And so it's very, very important that we get accurate measurements of tiny, tiny changes over very long periods of time in order to observe and understand what's happening to those observations. We have a member of our European Metrology Network who's become the World Meteorological Organization's central calibration laboratory for refrigerant gases. Refrigerant gases are significant greenhouse gases. They're much more powerful than carbon dioxide. They are controlled by legislation, and this institute is providing the providing the references to ensure that those refrigerant gases can be monitored and we can check that things are happening. We are also supporting the Intergovernmental Oceanographic Commission's Ocean Best Practices system to check that ocean observations are reliable. So in conclusion, metrology is a system that the science of measurements that has ensured that the SI system, the International System of Units, has been stable since May 1875, when the Meter Convention was signed. And it's done that using methods such as comparison, traceability, and uncertainty analysis. And in our European Metrology Network, we have 33 members in 20 countries building the partnerships with worldwide observational organizations to bring the same metrological principles to climate and earth observation. Europe has led the world on action for climate change, and it's done that because of its willingness to base policy on evidence. Our European Metrology Network is ensuring that the foundation of that evidence-based policy is reliable, trustworthy, and robust information. Thank you.
Thank you, Emma. That was really a thrilling showcase of international collaboration, especially on such a fundamental topic. Thank you so much for these insights. As you've mentioned, so climate change is really a global issue, and therefore the engagement with international stakeholders is important. So who are your stakeholders and how do they benefit from collaborating with your network?
Great, that's a good question, and absolutely. In our European Metrology Network, we very much see ourselves as the European contribution to a global effort to bring metrology into climate and ocean observation, and we collaborate with our sister organizations in China and America particularly, but throughout the world. Many of the members of our European Metrology Network have for a long time been involved in some of the big international committees that set up these observational networks, working with the European Space Agency, working with the Committee for Earth Observation Satellites that brings together the European Space Agency with NASA and the Chinese and the Japanese and all the space agencies of the world to set standards for how we ensure interoperability of the satellite data. We have people working in the WMO technical groups, making the Global Atmosphere Watch, the meteorological observations and ensuring that they can be used for climate. We are growing our relationship with the Intergovernmental Organization for Oceanographic Commission. We've been working with the Global Ocean Observing System and the European Ocean Observing System. So the EMN is supporting the members in doing what they've been doing before the EMN was founded, but we're now beginning also to make links as an EMN so that we can be, as Peter Drell said earlier, more than the sum of the parts by coming together as Europe as well as individual countries.
Thank you. So do the other speakers have a question for Emma?
Yeah, I would love to come in if I may. It's Peter here. So I'm really impressed by the many links and from you and Rika, it becomes really evident how central metrology is in very, very important fields of science and policy. So my question perhaps to Jörn as president is how can we make this more visible? I mean, this session was so informative, but it shows also to me that there is not enough, we don't know enough how important, how omnipresent metrology is. So what could we do better in terms of communication?
I mean, we have with Anne moderating this session, our communication officer, who is very active, but indeed one or two or three persons may not be enough really to reach these ambitions. I mean, first of all, we concentrate, of course, on our key stakeholders, which is, for example, the Commission, which are the other European partnerships with our European level organizations, associations, and also on the global level. And here, particularly the metrology networks contribute to make metrology more visible and enhance the impact. The broader public is a little bit more difficult to reach comprehensively, but I would say that especially the networks and the opportunity of a joint research program we have now with the partnership, and we are very optimistic about that, that will provide certainly more visibility and more impact.
Thank you for question and answer. I'm afraid it's already time to wrap up our session. I think we could go on for a while, so next time we might need a double session. What we learned about today was the proposed partnership on metrology, the achievements and also the new challenges that the metrology in Europe is focusing on. We got insights in industrial renewal and especially the metrology networks that bring together stakeholders from different sectors, fostering the international collaboration. So we heard that metrology is a horizontal discipline that really serves as a backbone for industry and trade, but at the same time also underpins policy initiatives. So I think Europe's metrology community is ready to support paving the way to a greener and more digital future. So thanks to DG Research for the opportunity and the invitation to the R&I Days. It was a great pleasure for us to contribute. Thanks to all you, our speakers, Peter Dröll, Jörn Stenger, Rika Virkkunen, and Emma Williams. And thanks to the audience and the many other attendees for being with us today, and of course to the technical support in the background. Have a nice day and enjoy the next R&I Day sessions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.